Hello and welcome to this part 2 session of functions or methods used in Python, and we will continue from the part where we left. So we'll start from here. All right, so again this the agenda remaining agenda is passing function as an argument without parameter, with parameter, inside class, and like that. Yield keyword example we'll see. Returning a function from a function, returning multiple values from function, um, in a function, and so on. Okay, so first let us see passing a function as an argument. Right, so let's say there's a method 1 and method 2. um, so method 1 having no argument and it is just having to one print statement and returning a string. Okay, method 2 having one parameter it needs. Okay, again what we are doing here is we are beginning method 2 run. We are passing the method or a function as an argument. So this function run, we are assigning it to a variable, printing the result, and then we are returning the result. Okay, so here what I'm doing, I'm uh, doing a before thing, that is begin print, and then I'm calling method 2, but in method 2 I'm passing the method 1 or function 1 or method 1 as a function as an argument. So passing function as an argument. Okay, so here I am passing the function as an argument, and that function I am running in method 2 and then returning the value. Okay, so it will start with begin. Okay, begin, and then method 2. So begin method 2, then it is calling the method 1, method to run, which is method 1. I'm calling the method which is passed here. Okay, so I'm calling this. So method 1 is called, it will say inside method 1. Okay, it will return hello world. So the value of result will be hello world. Then I'm printing result, so I'm printing hello world essentially. Then end method 2, end method 2, return this, return the result. What is the result? Result is hello world. Okay, okay, that will come, the that will finish this line number 14, and then line number 15 print end. So print end. Okay, so main thing to remember is we can pass a function as an argument in other function. Okay, next we'll see passing a function as an argument with parameter. Similar approach, but the thing is now, in method 2 I have a method which I want to run, and that method, which is this method, will need a parameter. So that parameter itself I am passing from here. Okay, that will be caught in this variable, and then I am calling the callable function and passing the parameter. Only thing is I'm able to pass as a parameter. Okay, so let's run this, and okay, happy Monday. This is the additional parameter I'm passing. Okay, and all other things remain the same. Then we'll see passing a function as an argument but in a class. So same thing, only thing is this is everything is inside the class. Okay, class foo, and then again this is a method which is callable method, and I'm calling this for calling method 2 to invoke method 1. Okay, as simple as that. So only thing is I have to create one object of class, and then I have to call this method with an object f dot method, and then I have to pass f dot method 1 as an argument. Okay, remember earlier it was just the method 1. If you see, it is just the method 1. Okay, method 1, but now here it should be the object of the class and the method name. Okay, right, similar things are happening, but it is inside the class. Now next, yield example. Okay, so we'll simply see one example of yield. So what yield does is it turns a regular function into a generator. Okay, generator of some kind of an item, some kind of a string or numbers. So generator of some items. Okay, which produces a sequence of values on demand instead of computing them all at once. So See this example. So there's a function called as my function, and I'm saying yield three times. So what will happen is, every time if I call this function, it will return the latest yielded value. So first time if I call, it will say hello, then it will say 55, it will say goodbye. Okay, so I'm calling this function. Okay, I'm calling this function here, and the all the values will be returned in x, and then I'm doing an iteration on the x, and I'm every time I'm basically taking the values of x. So here, because of yield, what is going to happen, it will return each value at once. Okay, first return hello, then 55, and then goodbye. Okay, so if you see, I'm just printing the type of x. So type of x is generator. As I said, yield, whenever I have a yield return or yield values processed, then it turns a function into a regulator. Okay, as simple as that. But now we will see a little complex example. Now here, one more catch here. So here, what I'm doing, I'm getting the type of that function, or return values type. Now I'm also calculating the length of the values. Okay, and I'm saying that it is going to be a list. Now let's see what happens. Okay, it returned this, it printed this, basically the type, which is generator. Then it is printing the length. Okay, length is 3. But now if you see, after I'm doing a for loop also, it is not printing anything. Why? Because if it is accessed once, the x values are accessed once, then all elements are exhausted. That means further, if you want to process x, then it will be exhausted, that means it will be empty. Okay, so we need to be careful that how many times operation we do on the yielded values. We need to use it carefully. Okay, so another bit real world example. So if you see, there's a method called as find letter occurrence. Okay, and there's a word, and in that word, a particular letter, how many times it has appeared. Okay, so find letter occurrence. So simple logic here. This is without yield. Okay, so let's see. So if you see here, in these three words, letter A, first time it is repeated only once, then in the second word it is repeated thrice, and in the third word it is repeated zero times. Okay, simple, nothing fancy. Now with yield, we'll see. With yield, okay, so little different approach here. So in this, we are just doing a for loop and calculating and appending the count and all. But here, what we are doing for a word in words. Okay, because we are passing a list. So from every word in the list, we are doing a yield operation. So word dot count, and how the number of times a particular letter has occurred. Now here, what will happen is, because it's a yield, so it will not calculate everything at once, but it will calculate the moment you call that function. Okay, so let's see one by one. So here, first time I'm saying next output. Okay, so first I'm defining a list, and then I'm defining a letter which I want to count how many times it repeated, and then output I'm saying find this, and um, find this, and I'm passing the variables, words and letters. Now in order to get the content or the yielded values, we have to say next output. That means it will next time, or let's see the next keyword, next letter, real signature. Okay, returns the next item from the iterator. Okay, next item from the operator, this is the definition. So this will basically process the values, and it will be stored in the output or this variable, and whichever is the next indexed value, that will be returned. So let's see once here. So in the first letter, the first word, the letter A has appeared only once. Okay, now let's run it twice. So first time it is repeated once, then it is repeated three times. Now what is happening here? If you see earlier example, it calculated everything one time and then returned the output. Okay, here what is happening here, whenever you say next and output, then that means it will process the first and then second and then third elements and then return the value. So yield is somewhat beneficial in sometimes that uh, all the processing will not be done in one shot, but it can be done in chunks. Okay, so one more example. So now you see here there are three elements and I'm calling it four times. Okay, now obviously there are, it is going to process only three times because the list length is only three. So for the fourth it will not work or it will give an error. Okay, let me just run it. Right, so first one time, then three time, then zero time, and then it was giving a exception or traceback, that line 164. Okay, so that is an exception basically, meaning that there are only three elements, so it cannot process the fourth element, and so on. Okay, now returning a function from a function. Okay, another interesting topic to discuss and learn, returning a function from a function. So if you see, there is a function called as divide operation, and usually you have a numerator and denominator. Now sometimes you want to check if it is the denominator is zero, then you want to do some different thread or different direction, and if it is fine, then you will just do a divide, the actual divide. Okay, now here the second function is, or the inner function is called as divide them. So here I am returning a function from a function. So if you see, this function returns a returns another function. Okay, for now it is an inter, or it is an inner function. So get the function returned by divide operation. So core function equal to divide operation 15 comma 2. So here what is going to happen, it will sanitize the numerator value. Okay, it is perfectly acceptable, and then it will return this, the function name, and then I have to call the function again here to get the actual output. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, 7.5, right, that is a 15 divided by 2. So another example, if the denominator is 0, so here I am anyway doing assert, so program will terminate then and there. Okay, assert. All right, returning multiple values from a function, similar approach. Returning multiple values from a function. So I have a function and I'm returning these two values from a function. So how can I do it? Using the comma. Okay, I can return multiple values. This is again one more feature in Python. Straightforward, we can return number of values. Okay, now this is one way. Second way is you can return as a list. Okay, so by default, if you don't have any parentheses or any brackets or anything like that, it will be considered as a tuple. And if you are returning as a list using the square bracket, then it will be obviously a list. Okay, so that is one example here. Right, so here I'm doing the type and the actual values. So by default, if there are no brackets, nothing, it will be considered as tuple. Okay, 10 demo. And if you have brackets, obviously it will be considered as a list. It will be considered as a list. All right, so yield versus return. Okay, again, one of the interesting question also in the interviews, and good to understand. Right, so yield, what is a returned object? So it packs all the values in a generator object and returns it. Ret function or a return statement returns a single value to the caller and stops the execution. Okay, here basically it is a packing thing and it is a single value. Execution flow, so execution pauses at the first yield. Okay, so this is interesting. In return statement, execution stops immediately at the return statements. Once you have return statement, that's it. You exit the function with whatever return values. But in the yield, the moment you call it, it will yield at the latest or the first yield. Returning a generator object resumes with each call. Multiple statements allows multiple yield statements in a generator function, which is a good example, which is a good feature. And return, we have only one return statement that can be used as a normal function. Memory allocation, yes. So no memory allocation needed for yield. Here it is needed for return values. Memory efficiency, highly memory efficient, ideal for handling large data sets. Here it is less efficient because it doesn't pack the values. Okay. Then and there it will do all the calculation and return. So less efficient, suitable for small data sets. Execution time, which is faster and it is slower. Right. So that completes the part 2 of the function or methods used in Python. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your community. Thank you.